It's 4 years since the Grenfell fire killed 72 people. What happened exposed one of the biggest consumer scandals of our time. Dangerous cladding had been used on hundreds and hundreds of buildings. There's also been a widespread failure to observe basic safety standards in construction. Laws are going through Parliament now to try to change things, and there's a government fund to pay for some repairs. But it's left a lot of flat owners with huge bills and properties that are pretty much worthless. Our reporter Melanie Abbott's been following what's happened from the start. She's at a development in South London now where there are big problems. Melanie, how many buildings have dangerous cladding and how many have been fixed?
It's hard to say exactly because the stats aren't that reliable. The only stats there are for the buildings that have the same kind of cladding that Grenfell Tower had, and there are more than 400 of those. Only just over half have had the cladding fully replaced, though it has been removed from just over 3/4. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other buildings with unsafe cladding and lots of other fire safety problems.
Tell us about the problems where you are now.
Yeah, I'm in South London, as you said, and the development behind me is absolutely beautiful. It's really smart looking, as a lot of these developments are. It's quite high. I think it's 6 stories, 7 stories. There's balconies, really lovely sun traps on them, but there are a lot of problems with it. Although the cladding isn't flammable, then it's got all kinds of other difficulties. It's estimated it could cost at least £7 million to put them all right. Benedict Lamb lives here. Talk me through some of the problems there are with this building.
So apart from the cladding, there are also the wrong insulating material within the building. They all have to be changed. And also the fire breaks, there's a lack of them. So when a fire breaks, that's supposed to compartmentalise, and at the moment we don't have those. So we need to get those put in as well.
So if there was a fire, excuse that van, if there was a fire, it could just spread.
Absolutely, and it's not supposed to do that. That's a breach of fire regulations, even the previous ones.
Now, there are 5 buildings here. One of them, the one that you live in, is shorter than the others. What does that mean?
So we lived in the 5-storey building, and we're 18 metres below the limit where we actually qualify to get funding from the Building Safety Fund. So at the moment, from where we stand, we will get nothing, even if we applied.
You'll get absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Even though you can look at your neighbours nearby who will get funding.
Exactly, and in fact, we're right next to one of the other blocks that will qualify because they're a few stories higher than us. But we're right next to them, so if a fire broke out, we would be burnt to the ground as well. So it just doesn't make sense.
Some people are really struggling to pay the extra bills here. The service charge has doubled over the past year. One of those is Ralph Glenk. What kind of difficulties have you had, Ralph?
It's a lot of emotions, very negative emotions. We've been putting on hold all our lives. It's 2 years now since we've learned about how much it's going to cost us. And for the last 2 years, we just every single day, we're just waiting finally, are we going to get any answers? Where are we going with that? We were hoping to get those answers already in December last year, and government postponed all the decisions to this June. So it's agony. It's absolutely agony.
The waiting. And how are you managing financially?
It's at the time I've learned how much it's going to cost us. I was self-employed. I couldn't afford actually to just start paying for the additional service charges, so I had to sell some of my furniture just to keep going.
That's a tough decision, I would imagine.
It is, but that was the right decisions at the time. Also, we didn't expect that it's going to take so long to wait for these decisions to get this funds. I'm not in a situation like Benedict that he will not get those funds. We were hoping to get those funds, but we still do not have those decisions.
What kind of furniture have you been selling?
It was mostly everything from my bedroom. I'm just having the mattress now
Wow.
there. I have only one armchair and desk where I'm working on, providing services to other company as well.
And you're hoping to buy some new furniture back, are you, if you get this money from the fund?
First we need to get it. I'm not even thinking about this kind of yet. For
Yes.
us, the more important is to have any clarity, and completely we don't understand why Barratt is not doing anything with that.
Well, we did invite Barratt, the developers, to take part. They declined. They sent us a statement which says, we're aware of the difficulties facing leaseholders and residents at Kennington Park Square and appreciate how concerning this must be for them. The development was built in 2009 and signed off as meeting building regulations by an independent approved inspector at the time of construction. While we have no legal liability, we have been working to assess and understand the issues at the development, and they say they are committed to working with the residents. Benedict Lamb and Ralph Glenn, thank you very much for talking to us about this.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie Abbott, thank you. Well, Jill Koenig used to live in Grenfell Tower. She now lives opposite and she watched the tower burn down. She's also an expert who advises on hazardous environments. She has a book and a podcast called Catastrophe, looking at why we don't learn from disasters like Grenfell. Jill Koenig, good afternoon to you and welcome to you and yours. How do you think it is that we have ended up in a position where so many buildings are unsafe?
Well, fundamentally, in the work that I do in high hazard industries, one of the most critical things is holding safety as a core value and fundamental principle in everything that you do. And if you listen to the heartbreaking stories and confront the magnitude of the issues facing building safety throughout the country, everybody in the industry failed to hold safety as a fundamental value. And when you do that, bad things happen.
The government's bringing in a new building safety bill. There'll be a new regulator on building safety. There'll be a new homes ombudsman, that's a kind of independent arbitrator, who'll hold developers to account when there are problems. Is that the answer, do you think? More regulation?
Well, I think it's part of the answer. So we know that one of the causes of Grenfell and all of the problems that we're facing is weak regulation. But as we're seeing through the Grenfell Tower inquiry, it's far more complex than that. It goes to things like, do we value the voice of residents? Do we treat people with empathy, with compassion, with humanity? So yes, regulations will go part way, but they absolutely will not deal with the issues that we're facing.
Now, just about this development where you're standing, Kennington Park Square, we spoke to the Home Builders Federation about it, and they say while homes were built to building regulations specified at the time and approved by independent inspectors, the industry is keen to explore sensible solutions to play its part in dealing with necessary remediation for homeowners. Builders have already paid for many buildings to be fixed, but equitable and fair solutions need to be found for the remainder that reflect the responsibilities of all parties involved in the design, construction, inspection and the current ownership of buildings. Jill Koenig, what do you make of that?
Well, it's laudable when people say that we should come together, and that absolutely should be happening, but it's not happening, and it's not happening fast enough. So the government has given 5.1 billion. That's only for the removal of cladding on high-rise buildings. Estimates are that it will take between 15 and 50 billion to correct all of the unsafe issues within buildings. And until the whole of industry, insurers, banks, developers, the government get together and go, we are going to fix this, we won't see the change that we need fast enough. And it's the anniversary of Grenfell, and it's what is the legacy that's being left behind
Jill
is
Koenig,
what troubles me mostly.
thank you so much.